Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
Now, historic films made in the spring of 1948 and just released show Eniwetok preparing for heavily guarded and still largely secret tests of new atomic weapons. The test's purpose is to measure atomic effects on thousands of different materials, 30,000 tons of them, not, as at Bikini, to prove military effectiveness.
San Francisco police say that 9 persons have been arrested in a narcotics raid on the headquarters of the Grateful Dead, a widely popular singing group. 2 members of the group, Rod McKernan and Robert Weir, and their business manager, Danny Rifkin, have been booked on suspicion of possessing narcotics.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower cleared.
We got a roll program. Neil Armstrong reporting the roll and pitch program, which puts Apollo 11 on a proper heading.
I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Well, strange lights are causing a viral buzz on YouTube. Could we have caught extraterrestrial activity on a recent newscast? Brandon Arroyo investigates.
As the newscast ended, the controversy began back on September 26th. What is that light shining in the back of the dark night sky?
With coverage reaching all the way back to 1948, for over 70 years, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Now, Fate Magazine Radio is carrying on that tradition of setting the standard in paranormal talk radio as we report and discuss some of the most mysterious and perplexing phenomena imaginable in this strange world of ours. Now, here is your host of Fate Magazine Radio, Kat Hobson.
Yeah, and so the part that I was talking about when everybody couldn't hear me was this book's designed to be read fast. The goal is within 2 hours of you having the book, most of you will be able to have read the entire thing. Too many times I've gone into friends' homes and seen their libraries, and it's full of wonderful books that they've never read. And I didn't want that to be the case here. The authors have put in so much work and so much information that it just overwhelms people. And so what I did with Slipstream Shaman, using quantum healing for individuals, communities, the planet, and beyond, was to design it in a way that you get right to the point, you start working the processes, you see what some of my work looks like. I describe in detail the different things that I've done for people and what it looks like inside. And then you get a chance to do it yourself. And if you don't want to read about the stuff that I had, the different adventures I've had in the quantum room, you can actually, within 45 minutes of having the book, start your own process and start working on it. So I wanted to keep the book very simple, get right to the point, and get people working on accessing their energy and healing themselves and their friends and their loved ones. And so that's why the book is written the way it is. I wanted it simple and quick, so that it would break my heart to know that people bought this and put it on a bookshelf and didn't take advantage of it. I really want it out there and to get a group of people, like us that are doing this, that are helping themselves and others get better. And that's the whole goal of this book, is to help people. So in regards to the work I do, I don't charge for it. And the reason I wrote the book was because eventually I would love to be able to do this full time, work with people, help them develop their abilities in quantum healing, and to not have to go to the daily, I'd like to say 9 to 5, but it's much longer where I work.
It often is. Yes.
Exactly. But I would love to do this full time and help more people and help more communities in that. So that's why the book is here. It's the first start of that, and also just to help people.
Well, it really is. And at the risk of sounding offensive, because I'm very impressed, but it really is like almost oversimplification on moving into a quantum state. It's beautiful.
And again, yeah, thank you. And I find that as a wonderful way to describe it. I wanted it simple. I don't want anybody thinking, well, I can't do that. It's for everybody. And once they access this state and see how wonderful it is, they're going to be much happier. For years, I tried to meditate. And what meditation was for me for a long time was to sit in a chair, try to clear my mind, and then fall asleep. And
been there, rock that.
Exactly. And once I started working with my energy and using it and then once I found the quantum room, because it didn't happen overnight, but it can when you read this. Once I found that quantum room, I found that I was actually able to meditate and get something out of it. One of the beautiful things about again, you're just working in energy and spirit. I call it quantum room, but it's working with energy and spirit. One of the beautiful things about that is time has no meaning there. You can go in and have what we would call on this plane of existence a 5-minute meditation. But inside, you've just done 20 minutes or maybe an hour. You'll feel like you've spent a lot of time in there when no time has passed in this reality. And the opposite can happen too. You can go in there and think you only spent 5 minutes, and when you come back to your physical body, you see that you've spent an hour. So it's really a wonderful thing. It's a fun experience. It's very relaxing, and it builds a lot of confidence. If it's okay, Kat, I'd like to just kind of let people know how I grew into this.
Well, I would like that very much, because that has something to do with the term slipstream, doesn't it?
Yes. The slipstream. So the reason I picked slipstream, and then I'll get into how I grew into it a little bit more after that, is because two things happen in a slipstream. One, you're using less energy. And so for people that don't know exactly what a slipstream is, the best way to picture it is you're driving on the freeway and a semi passes you. You feel it push you to the side and then kind of suck you forward after it passes you. Or if you get behind it, you notice that all of a sudden the RPMs on your car go down, and you're actually going faster. You're using that energy to pull you along. And that's what this is doing. So the slipstream that I'm talking about creates an easy path forward, pushes you into the future in a much easier way with better resources, and it takes less energy. And so that's where the whole slipstream part of it went. And I wanted people to understand that unlike most methods, traditional shaman methods that take days, weeks, months, years to get to the results, this can happen right now. Something that you've been working on can happen immediately. So the slipstream part of it is all about the speed and the ease and the lack, and that you don't need to use a lot of energy on it. The universe is helping pull you forward to where you want to be. And as far as the development of this process, it started. I was on a paranormal team, and when you're doing that kind of work, you meet a lot of different people doing different investigations. And I was friends with several people on different teams. And I was invited to join a team of paranormal people, investigators that would go to the places that nobody else could help, a haunting that nobody else could help, somebody that was really struggling with something, right. a ghost type thing nobody else could help. We would go help them. But we didn't know how we were going to do that. And as we were talking about things, sometimes your teacher appears, and what happens is a shaman actually reached out to one of the people on the team to do some training, and we got together with this person and did the intro shaman training. And in the book, I teach you how to find your energy. And I did that process with this shaman, and she was trying to force her energy onto us, what she was seeing onto us, not understanding that each of us were having a different experience.
Right.
My energy at the time was a beautiful, just a light blue color and cold. And she was telling us that it was going to look different and it was going to be warm, and that wasn't working for me, and it really took me out of the training. I listened to what was going on, but I really didn't participate. Later, when I got home, I started to practice what she was saying, using the energy that manifested for me, and that was how this all started. Several years later, after working on meditation and using that energy for protection and helping other people, just giving them energy that way, I found the quantum room. And just kind of to back up a little bit, the energy, everybody's energy looks different. I just worked with a young lady before our call, and her energy is white on the edges, yellow in the middle, and has these dark streaks running through it. My energy now, it started off as a light blue, and throughout the years, for some reason, it changed one day. And now it looks like if you shined a very bright light through a large diamond, the various colors and lights and things that come out, almost like a sparkler, is what it looks like now. It's still cold to the touch, but many people, their energy is warm or hot. So don't let what it looks like affect you. Mine, when I look at it, kind of looks like a ball, similar to what you see on the front of my book, but it doesn't have to be that. I talked to a young lady not too long ago, and hers is just this energy that's streaming off in all different directions, moving very fast, very high rate of speed. I know other people that just have golden light coming with their energy, and then people with a dark light. And don't worry what the color is. I was working with another person, and this has been a couple of years ago, and her energy was black, and she freaked out thinking it was something very bad or evil or something. It's just the color of your energy. Don't let it worry you.
Not the color of your heart.
Whatever your Exactly. Yeah. So whatever the color of your energy is, that's fine. And it could change and it might not, but don't let a color bother you. Don't try to force a color because you think you should have a pink energy and you end up having a green energy. That's okay. Whatever your energy is what your energy is. Just enjoy it. Everything's fine. And so again, I try to really reinforce this in the book. Don't feel like you have to have this work exactly for you like it does for me. My quantum room, once I finally got into that, and that's where I can really do the great healing, it just looks like a room of gray mist, like I'm suspended in a cloud, in a dark cloud. But I work with people that one of my favorites is she walks down some steps to a pond. And she can either stand in the pond or float in it or just look at it. But her quantum room is just beautiful area with a pond. Other people, one guy, another cool one is it's inside his favorite car. One person is just floating in space. So it doesn't matter what your quantum room is, just allow it to be and enjoy it. So
well, that's the best advice you could give somebody.
I believe so. I don't want to make people think that they can only do it the way I do. I'm giving you a framework, but then it's up to you, and it's time to run, like we were talking about with the movie The River Runs Through It. Eventually, you're going to break off on your own, just like the youngest son did in that movie, where he stopped doing the cadence that his father taught him and did his own and worked the river the way he wanted to as a fisherman. And that's what I would expect with people. And really, it gives me chills when I hear about the things people do and how this is working for them. So I love hearing the success they've had and how they move forward.
Well, you've already got a book sold in chat, so you're doing okay.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you.
We're going to be able to have all kinds of great discussions. You know, I actually have been fighting animal illnesses. I've had two very sick dogs, separate different kinds of sick. So it's been really, when you're not going, about one, then you're going, ee, about the other one, right? So
absolutely.
And the one that I have known the longest out of all of them kicked over into abdominal breathing after getting an injection. And thank goodness I was a good fast driver, but I was a fast driver for a good little bit right there because we're not near the vet. But in order to get to where I could take care of her, I had to just drop into that quantum mindset. And
yes,
I was fully focused on what I was doing, but I was doing that to be able to take care of her. And it's really hard to explain how you can be in both states at one time, but it really helped with that, because
that is wonderful.
I was terrified, and I couldn't function at that level. I had to bring it back and just, shift my focus to, okay, she's going to be all right. But
absolutely,
and she was. But we have to take a quick break right now, and I am going to just go with that. So thank y'all all for listening. And as you come in, I know that this was a little funky getting started, but as you come in, just know that we are available on iHeart, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere you want to be. You'll be able to get everything, full show, once we're done. So thank you so much for being here. We'll see you on the flip side. Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our...
Warning, the following message does not necessarily reflect the views of WBHM-DB or its hosts, guests, listeners, or of any functioning adult in general. In fact, Frank should probably seek professional help. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi there, Frank Lee here. I thought that I would spend a few moments telling you about the positivity from the network here. The overall message of para-unity and happiness, and how everyone here wants to get along with everyone out there, and how everything is just wonderful. Wait, Cat's not looking. Okay, I've got something to really tell you. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what's really going on. Honestly, all that being nice and positive crap was kind of hurting my soul, as dark as it is. So, what's really happening? Well, you see it all the time. Everybody and their brother out there has a paranormal team because they watch a couple of episodes of Ghost Hunters or some crap like that. So they go and they spend half their mortgage payment on tools and things that light up that they don't understand. And then the next logical step, after buying matching black t-shirts and posing like 90s rappers for their Facebook page, is to, of course, have their own podcast. Well, you know what? You're not going to find that crap here. What we have here at WBHM Digital Broadcasting is the best host, the best guest, bringing you real information, All of the hosts here on this network know their stuff. They are the people who have been out there doing the work, doing actual research. And no, by research, I don't mean binge watching some kind of cheesy TV show on Netflix. I mean reading books. I mean out in the field doing the legwork. And who are they interviewing on their shows? They're bringing you the people they have learned from. They're bringing you the best in the field, covering all kinds of topics from UFOs and aliens to Bigfoot to cryptozoology to ghosts to anything you can think of a bit strange and unexplained. It is here, and you're going to get the best information here. So stay tuned to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Don't go anywhere. Speaking of going somewhere, I've got to go before my mic gets cut. We'll see you there on WBHM-DB.
Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. And if you are wanting to update your subscription or get some back issues to finish your library or just see what else is going on as far as all that Phyllis is putting together, just hit fatemag.com. There's shopping, there's archives, there's everything. So you will love it. All things Fate, all in one spot. So tonight my guest is Todd Wilcox. Todd, I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm loving it.
I'm so glad because I love your book. And during the break we were talking about where to go next, and I'm very interested in letting people understand how you get your warrior and your love groups. And I'm very intrigued by the makeup of them because it's what I would anticipate, what I would think I would see in my groups. But it's just fascinating. Can you tell people a little about that process?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that started was I had the quantum room and I was starting to think about how I was going to help people. And I knew that if we went into, especially if I was doing it for those paranormal groups, there might be something that we have to, maybe battle. Right. And so I wanted to have a warrior group with me to help me with that. And that was one of the things that other shaman was saying, make sure you have some warriors with you. And many people had religious people as part of their warrior group. And that wasn't who came to me. Who came to me were dogs, were pets that I had before. And so I'm in the quantum room, I'm meditating, I've got my guides. I have 3 what I would call a high-level guides that work with me. I have 2 animal guides, and then I also have these groups of animals and people that I've known that are either in the warrior group or the love group that come and help me. And I was working with my highest level guides and said that I needed to have a warrior group, and one of them said something, again, we're talking simple. He says, well, why don't you invite warriors into your group? So I did. And I said, while I was meditating, I said, I need warriors. Who can come help me? And the mist in front of me cleared, the swirling mist that is my quantum room cleared. And my dog, Desi, who had passed several years before, came in. She was a beagle, the prettiest dog I've ever seen in my life. If you stood above her and looked down, her coloring looked like she had wings. Oh, so if you picture like Pegasus, the horse with the wings, it looked like she had wings going down the side of her. Absolutely gorgeous. But as beautiful as she was also ferocious. She was absolutely ferociously protective of us. And I watched that dog take out rats, snakes, a husky, a dog 5 times her size. She went after and made it run away. She was not afraid of anything. And she had the best nose I've ever been around. You could not trick this dog. She could smell anything. She could find anything. And so I thought this is a perfect start. And she came out, and then some of my other dogs came out to be a part of this. And an uncle of mine came out, and if you need a warrior, this was a guy that is a great example. He was a Marine in World War II and also Korea. I don't know how many medals this guy got.
Wow.
He was John Wayne and Clint Eastwood and all the other people that they've played, all rolled into one. This guy was amazing. And so having him on my side, I knew I was going to be fine. And they all agreed they wanted to help. And it started off with just the warrior team. I thought we had to find what was bothering these people, get rid of it, and burn it or hurt it or make it go away, throw it into the sun, something like that. And so as we were working with people and the warrior team would pull stuff off of them, we would just incinerate them with energy and many times send them to the sun. Later, I'm meditating and I'm not doing the actual warrior group, and I remembered that in some training I did that all things start with a positive intent. There's some kind of positive intent that starts things out. And I got shivers, and it's happening to me right now, feeling bad about how aggressive we went into these things that were bothering people. I now call them companions. Right. And they started off as something good and became a problem later on. So picture a little boy getting yelled at by his dad. And instead of like trying to fight his dad, which he can't, or running away, which isn't a good idea, he just goes inside, gets quiet, lets the dad scream at him till it passes, and then goes about his life. That worked great as a little boy. Doesn't work as well as at school. It's even worse for him in college. It's even worse when he gets to a job and somebody raises their voice and he goes internal and can't be a part of the conversation anymore. So right. Something that started out as really good for him, it helped him, it saved him, now is a problem. And that's what these companions started out as. And I don't, when I see them, they look a certain way to me, and they might be a rock or a bird, a stick, a cloud, a rag. We'll pull those off, and we still do what's called debriding. We give them energy that kind of gets all the crust and stuff off of them, kind of burns it off, and then they're ready for the love team. And just like with the warrior team, I invited, I just put the invitation out there, who wants to be on my love team? And the first thing through the mist was this aunt. Coincidentally, she was the wife of the Marine, my uncle, the wife of his, and so nice, so wonderful. She wanted everybody to be involved in everything. She was just that glue that every family needs, and love just radiated off her. So I was super happy with that. A couple other dogs that I'd had in the past came through, and a couple, from time to time, other things, love team. And so what the function is the warrior team finds something. Desi usually sniffs around on the people until she finds something that doesn't belong and takes it out. A good friend now, but it was somebody that I met on a radio show that I do. And she said, "Can you do that healing you were talking about on me?" And I said, "Sure." So I went in, and Desi found something in her back, and she started scratching it back by her ribs and pulls out this rag. We put the rag on the ground, gave it energy to debride it, and then filled it full of love. And this rag transformed into this little boy that just stared at her and then smiled at me and walked away. And
oh, wow.
So what was going on there was energy that was used for something to protect her heart, something by her heart. that manifested there by her heart and started causing her trouble. She was in very bad trouble heart-wise, on medication and on sleep, the CPAP machine, because she needed more oxygen, and she was in a bad way with her heart. And we got that off of her. The energy transformed to what it wanted to be. And I don't know what these things are. I don't know. I believe it's energy, but they're being returned to what they should be. And it's usually the second thing. Once they get the love, it's usually something very beautiful. It might be a flower or a tree or a lake or a person. It's usually something very beautiful. And I think that's just to let me know that they're back to their beautiful energy state, doing what they love to do, and they can now move on instead of trying to help but actually hurting the person.
That's beautiful in its own right.
Absolutely. And the wonderful thing with this person is she had been going to the doctor. Her heart was getting worse. And after we did that, within months, she was almost off the medicine. Within a year, she was off the medicine, and she's doing great now. And I'm not saying I'm a doctor or that I can cure things. What I believe is happening is we have this wonderful medicine. We have doctors that are very specialized in getting things done, and their whole focus is chemical. Give you this medicine, it'll do this, and it should fix this. But there's something inside people, whether it's energy or a memory or whatever the case, that needs to be changed before that healing takes place 100%. And that's not with everybody. Some people get the medicine and everything's fine, but there are those people that the medicine's just not working, and that's where this really comes in and helps a lot. It's that final straw that breaks the camel's back, and now they can start healing. And I've seen it time and time again. It took me a long time to believe I was actually helping. I was hoping I was, but after so many coincidences stack up, you finally believe that yes, you are helping. And your story about taking your dog to the hospital reminded me about one in the book, a dog that had liver problems and had a stent put in because the things weren't flowing right. My friend was on the way to the vet and put a post on Facebook, and I said, "Can you give me an hour?" And he gave me an hour, and that was almost 5 years ago, and the dog's healthy and strong, and things are great. So that dog just needed one little thing to tip it over and get that right, but he was on his way to being put down because the doctor told him this probably isn't going to work. After the process, it did. And so somehow I believe we assisted in that dog's healing, in addition to what the veterinarian did. So please don't think I'm telling you not to go to the doctor or anything like that. But this is a nice side-by-side working arrangement that you can do to help things progress faster and get your energy flowing right and help that process.
Well, holistic and energetic medicine work. And when you have a good physician working too, that's a great combination.
Yes, that's a team. The better your team, the better off you are. And so with and I kind of got sideways on that, but so the love team, once we're done with whatever the companions are, getting them all off the person, getting them help, then the person that we're working with moves over from the warrior team to the love team, and the love team just fills them full of energy, just nothing but love energy, getting them filled up. Nature abhors a vacuum. I don't want something else to show up. And if something has to, I can't think of a better thing than just a pure love energy going into that person and helping them be protected.
Well, that part is every bit as fascinating, because when you take into bride, you're exposing vulnerabilities, and then the love heals it, and ta-da.
Yes.
Right? I mean,
yeah.
That just blew me away wonderful. Too. It's such a great plan.
Yes, and I was actually doing that in the half hour before our show tonight. A lady had sent me an email asking for a healing, And I was going through that process with her, and I would like everybody else to know, if they go to slipstreamshaman.com, there's a place for email, or if you just do slipstreamshaman@gmail.com, you can reach me, and people do that all the time. I don't charge. I don't request a donation. This is just what I do for the planet, is help people with things. Sometimes I get a little overrun with requests, and it takes a few days, but I try to keep right on them. And if you have something that you need help with, let me know. Don't be too specific about what you need. It's best if I go in fairly blind, so that I'm not trying to force the energy one way or another that doesn't make sense. Sometimes we'll pull something out of somebody's stomach, and it helps their back feel better. So I just don't know where the energy is going to take us. So it's best that I have as little of knowledge on the front side as possible. But then as things start to change, I love to hear, what was going on and how it affected them.
Well, that's a small price to pay for some healing like that. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
But because, and I do know people who I actually was planning on developing my skill in this, because there's so many people that I know who have various issues. And, I have a few, and I would like to be able to heal myself as well. But
yes,
it's just such a neat thing that you do that.
Yeah, and I've always worried, and I work with people. I'm developing a couple teams. We're going to try working energy on a bigger level, and I do work with people that do energy healing, Reiki, and other modalities, and they charge, and
they do.
And there's been a little tension. They feel like I'm like I should be charging, and that it would be better. But there's something nagging at me that says if I charge, I'm going to lose my ability to do it.
I share that.
And it may not be the same for everybody, but I'm afraid I won't be able to do it if I start charging.
I have always been concerned about that with any of my gifts, because, I'm a firm believer if you don't use them, you lose them.
Yes.
And they will go to someone who will use them for the purpose they were designed. And so a friend of mine has been really pushing me to get out publicly more with the things that I do. It's hard because, I don't work that way. So yes. I did put together a bio and stuff, but it's always such a surprise to people, the things that I'm interested in or the things that I do and stuff. And I think that because this is so not about the person doing it, but about the methodology being utilized to do it, that's why I think that you're having the success that you're having. Because you are doing it, you're doing it for a purpose other than self-aggrandizement. And you're accepting help from spirits around you that you know, feel. And so it's a really good team that's working the way that we're supposed to work spiritually.
Thank you.
But we have to take a break. So bear with me on that. It's shorter, and we'll be right back. Y'all come back too.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello, I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine, and I am Kat Hobson, your host, with my guest, Todd Wilcox, who is the Slipstream Shaman himself. And I am enjoying our conversation. My chat is loving our conversation. But I have a question for you. And I think it could cause some questions for people that just weren't familiar. But what is retrocausality?
Yes, it's an amazing thing, and I can remember where I was when I first heard about it. I was driving on a freeway in Utah, and it hit me so hard I had to actually pull over to the side of the freeway so I could pay attention and not cause a wreck. And what retrocausality is you're doing something now that actually changes the past, something that happened in the past. And not everything that I talk about in my book can be quantified by science. Retrocausality has been. So what happened was the best study was a group of researchers went to a hospital, and they got the files of some people that had a blood disease. And this is from 10 plus years before. They got their files, and they just randomly separated the files into two stacks. They started praying over one set of files, sending positive energy, positive intent, prayers, every positive thing they could think of to that group of people, in the separated pile, and they didn't do anything for the other pile. Then they looked at the results of those people's stay in the hospital 10 plus years ago, and they found a difference in the group that they prayed on and sent the positive energy to and did all the healings for them. So even though it had taken place, they showed a difference, and that whole thing blew me away. And I was thinking, what can we do? How can that work with us? And the next book that I'm working on really goes into detail on some trauma release processes, but in a nutshell, what the trauma release process is going back in time through the quantum realm and changing your perspective on something. And so that's our way of sending back prayers and positive energy and things. And you might be thinking, is he saying just pretend something different happened in that situation? No, but we're going to look at the situation differently. As an example, many of you know twins. And when you talk to these twins, one of them will have some event in their life that they talk about, and it was just so traumatic. Or, brothers and sisters, almost the same thing. But there was an event that took place that was so traumatic to one of the people, and really not even a blip on the radar to the other. And that event shaped both of them. One didn't get the trauma, didn't care about the trauma. The other one really tied into the trauma. And so what we're doing with retrocausality is making a change now that will affect you in the past as well. And that's what this work does. As we help the companions to move on to their next thing, time is different in the quantum realm, so it's changing everything at once. And so you're getting future benefits from these changes, and you're also getting past benefits from these changes. And that's what retrocausality is changing something, fixing something today that goes back in time and makes it better. And I hope I didn't butcher that too badly. But that's
you did not.
And it's just the way that this realm works. It's not linear when you're inside, like we were talking about. It might feel like you're in the quantum room for 5 minutes when in reality you spend an hour. Time is completely different than what we're used to. So the changes that you're making affect you in the future and also your past. And another thing that we talk about in the book is 7 generational healing. Mm-hmm. So you're healing your the people in your future. You're healing the people in your past 7 generations, and they come to visit you. That's the newest thing that's happened, and that we go into that more in the book. But it's beautiful. I love retrocausality, knowing that I can heal things in the past. I had a scar, and this will be in the second book, but I had a hernia scar that hurt me for years. I did a trauma release process on it, timeline regression, so that it changed the past, retrocausality. And not only did the scar quit hurting virtually that day, but the swelling went down. I can't even find it now. It was about a 7-inch hernia scar that was very painful for about 20 years. And doing this process cleaned it up immediately, and I don't even know it's there. I can't even find the scar.
That's brilliant. That's actually very brilliant.
Yeah.
Well,
so
that's almost eerie in the very best way. Because,
yes.
Well, in doing that then, when you're working with the 7 generations forward and back, do you feel like you travel in time?
I do. It does feel like time travel. And as I see the 7 generations, as they all come together around a person when I'm doing this work, they form different shapes and symbols as they're there. And so if you could picture floating above a large group of people, and they're maybe stepping on the designs in a carpet, and what it ends up looking like for me, and each person has a different thing, but it kind of reminds me of a Mayan calendar. So you've got this big round circle around these people, and everybody's standing in different shapes and symbols, creating different shapes and symbols, which I think is feeding energy to not only the person that we're working with, but also to the 7 generations, both front and back.
Both front and back is a lot of people.
It is a lot of people, and it's even more than you may imagine at first thought, because it's not just blood relatives that the generations are healing. It's spirit groups that you're in. It's your friends. It's more than just the DNA. It's your energy essence. 7 generations, and so that's much broader than just looking at blood.
Well, especially when you start looking at soul groups. I mean,
exactly.
Because I know those have to be huge, because I run into someone in one of mine all the time.
Absolutely, yeah. They can be absolutely massive. I think there's probably subgroups within them where there's people that you always tend to run around. But yeah, the soul groups I think are very big and very, very broad.
And it's always interesting. So
without
I never, but it's funny because I can recognize the people that I'm not supposed to be around also. That don't have my best interest at heart. And every time that I try to shake that off and say, oh, that's not possible, I get reinforced saying, you better pay attention to that.
Yes, I agree.
So,
yeah, there's a lot going on.
And you don't really recognize that, right? Until you've had an experience a couple of times where you chose to just think, oh, pshaw.
Yeah.
No.
You start identifying them. You see patterns in their behavior patterns, probably, and feeling the patterns in their energy.
Mm-hmm.
The more you're doing it. So yeah, there's people that you're immediately drawn to and people that you immediately want to repel.
Yes. And it's so, to me, it's interesting when they almost won't let you repel them. Those are usually the ones that I find that I better, build a barrier between almost immediately.
Yes, and it's great that you've identified that. And when you get that feeling, when there's something, it might be in the back of your mind, it might be a tickle in your stomach, it might be, the hair on your arms raising. But when you get those signs that something's not right with somebody, you need to listen to it.
Yeah.
Those intuitions are telling you something for a reason.
And even if I'm not in the space with them, I've had a time where we did come together in the same environment, and I was like, yep, all right, trust that.
Yeah, yep, you are 100% right.
It's weird the validations you get sometimes.
Beautifully said. Yes.
So the animals, because what came to you were your animals.
Yes.
Right. So would they be spirit guides, or are they just your friends coming to work on the team with you?
Yeah, so that is a really great question, and it's something that I struggled with for a little while. At first I was wondering, are these the spirits of my animals, or are these part of me manifesting as those animals, so that I can do the work. So am I taking a part of me and making me a ferocious dog that can smell things to find stuff, or are these animals coming to help? And what I believe is happening is that they are the spirits of these animals coming to help. I also have 2 spirit guides that are different, and they help me in different ways, and people that know me will understand completely what my guides are. Your listeners hopefully will get a little chuckle, but my 2 spirit guides, one is a big bull elk and the other one is Bigfoot. And
really?
And it's a lady Bigfoot. Yeah, it's a female Bigfoot that comes to me. And then I have 3 guides that are above them. One that I can see very well and interact with really well. The other 2 are like they're out of phase with me. Like our dimensions aren't lining up to where I can really see them and feel them and touch them.
Right.
I know they're there. I can see the outline, but they're very fuzzy, and the shapes shift around, change a lot. I can't get a good grasp on exactly what they look like. I can still interact with them, but those are how it's set up for me. I have 3 high-level guides, 2 spirit animal guides, and then the animals and people that come to help me, I believe, are the spirits of those people and animals.
That is so cool.
Yeah, I love it. And not everybody gets these animals coming to them. I want to let your listeners know that. Some do, some don't. And don't beat yourself up if they don't come to you. For whatever reason, you either don't need them or you're not ready yet, or my guess would be is for some reason you don't need them yet. And when it's time, if it ever becomes time, they'll show up. But don't worry if you don't get a warrior group or a love group like I have. You may be able to manifest all that energy yourself. And my guess is that I just needed more help, and I missed my pets. So
I miss my pets too.
Things. Yeah, so I think there's a couple things going on there.
Well, and I had a dog that my vet, when we took him as a puppy for his first checkup, looked at him and looked at me and said, "Only you would have this dog for a pet." And I was like, "He's adorable." She said, I have seen a Catahoula leopard dog put a bull on the ground by his lip. And this is your family pet. You are so weird. I'm like, I am so weird. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I've had that same comment. Only you would have this dog, and it's usually because they're goofy. But
well,
yeah,
he was goofy.
I get it completely.
Well, you know, I just love that. But we are at the top of the hour for our show. So we're going to go ahead and take our top of the hour break. And y'all just enjoy it or stretch your legs or fill up whatever beverage container you need filled. We will catch you on the flip side.
Live from NPR News, I'm Janine Herbst. A delegation of American lawmakers arrived in Taiwan nearly 2 weeks after a visit by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi that angered China. Beijing responded to Pelosi's August 2nd visit by sending missiles, warships, and warplanes into the sea and air around Taiwan. The American Institute in Taiwan says a 5-member delegation led by Senator Ed Markey is in Taiwan today and tomorrow as part of a visit to Asia. They'll meet with senior leaders, including Taiwan's president, to discuss U.S.-Taiwan relations and other issues. China claims self-ruled Taiwan as its territory. In Michigan, Governor Gretchen Whitmer declared a state of emergency in 4 counties affected by a broken water main. Brett Dahlberg with Michigan Radio reports close to 1 million people in Metro Detroit were told to boil their water after the 10-foot-wide pipeline broke yesterday.
Those boil water advisories have now been lifted for some communities, but they remain in effect for several others. Michigan's Emergency Operations Center says it's working to fulfill requests for bottled water. The Great Lakes Water Authority operates the water main. The agency says it's isolated the section of pipe that broke, and a replacement section has been ordered and is being delivered from Texas. The authority says it's investigating the cause of the break. Barring any unforeseen circumstances, it says it'll take 2 weeks to return the water main to service, 1 week for repairs, and 1 week for water quality testing. For NPR News, I'm Brett Dahlberg in Grand Rapids.
Author Salman Rushdie has been taken off a ventilator but still remains in critical condition after being stabbed Friday, moments before he was about to give a lecture in upstate New York. NPR's Juliana Kim reports the second person who was on stage with him was also injured but was recently released from the hospital.
Henry Reese was supposed to interview Rushdie before a man went up on stage and brutally attacked both of them. Reese is the co-founder of a residency program for writers in exile known as City of Asylum. On Saturday afternoon, Reese spoke with CNN, noting that he and Rushdie plan to speak about how Rushdie inspired the program.
That is the grim sort of irony or maybe intention to not only assault his body, but to assault everything that he represented.
Rushdie has been heralded as a defender of artistic expression ever since Iran's government ordered Rushdie's assassination over his 1988 book, The Satanic Verses. For NPR News, I'm Juliana Kim.
U.S. Capitol Police and local authorities are still looking for a motive after a 29-year-old man rammed his vehicle into a barricade near the U.S. Capitol building early this morning. He's been identified as Richard A. York III of Delaware. Police say the car burst into flames and that York then started firing shots in the air before taking his own life. This is NPR News. A fire broke out at a church in Egypt's capital, Cairo, this morning. At least 41 people were killed, more than a dozen injured, according to the Coptic Church. NPR's Fatma Tanis has more.
The fire started while Sunday service was underway, according to Coptic Church officials. The cause of the fire was not immediately known. An initial police investigation pointed to an electric short circuit, but Egypt's public prosecutor has ordered a more in-depth investigation. Meanwhile, the Minister of Health said thick smoke and a stampede as people tried to escape the flames added to the number of casualties. The office of Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi said that he called the head of the Coptic Church, Pope Tawadros II, to offer his condolences, and that state resources would be made available to deal with the incident. Fatma Tanis, NPR News, Jerusalem.
In Spain, a large wildfire in the northeast grew rapidly overnight and is burning out of control. It's already forced the evacuation of 8 villages and 1,500 people in Zaragoza province. A local government official says the situation was critical in the town of Anand de Moncayo and the priority for the 300 firefighters fighting the blaze was to protect human lives and villages. The fire, which started yesterday, developed a 31-mile perimeter in less than 24 hours. The European Forest Fire Information System says 615,000 acres have burned in wildfires so far this year in Spain. That's about 4 times the full-year average since 2006. I'm Janine Herbst, and you're listening to NPR News.
Not everybody wants to run around the White House or Congress all day. That's where the NPR Politics podcast comes in. At 5 p.m., NPR's best political reporters get together and break down the biggest political stories. No noise, just friends making sense of Washington. Listen to the NPR Politics podcast every weekday.
Welcome back to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 5 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to the second hour of Fate Magazine. I'm Kat Hobson, your host, and I'm so glad that you are with us tonight. This has been an evening of some technical adventures and weird little energy anomaly things, and I'm just so glad that we seem to be through that. If you have missed any of that first hour, no worries. It will be available anywhere that you get your podcasts. iHeart, iTunes, Google, Spotify, JioSaavn. If you're in India, we have a great following there. Those are the nicest people too. I get to hear from them some. So tonight's guest is Todd Wilcox, author of The Slipstream Shaman. And I have to tell you that this first hour has been eye-opening and mesmerizing. His full title of his book is Slipstream Shaman, Using Quantum Healing for Individuals, Communities, the Planet, and Beyond. So, Todd, I am just so glad that you are here, and I have enjoyed our first hour. I'm looking forward to this one.
I am as well, and thank you for having me on. I enjoy talking, and I'm so happy you have people hearing us live, and then they get to hear us later on podcasts and that. So thank you for having me. I'm having a blast, and I love sharing all this information.
Well, it's great information. How could you not love it, right? I mean,
exactly.
You're helping people be able to heal themselves and others, and yes. That is just such a wonderful thing. And, you know, I know that practitioners of other methods of this have questioned you on you're not charging for that. But I, like you, agree that if you have a gift, it's not supposed to be mercenary.
Right.
I don't think I said that quite right, but, you know, it's one thing if you need to make a living and what you do can be proven valid and the results are such as you're seeing. But, you know, it's not a given that you have to charge for things like this. I understand.
And yeah,
I'm sorry. I was just going to agree with you that it just seems that you accomplish a lot not doing that.
I feel the same way. And one of the things that happened during a meditation in the quantum room is I've wanted to know my purpose for years. Mm-hmm. And I've just searched and thought once I found my purpose, everything will be fine. You know, the clouds will open, the angels will sing, and I'll have this clear road to financial success and corporate success and everything. And what I found was when I did find what my purpose is, it was just 2 simple words, and that is to help. And I don't see how I can fulfill my purpose if I'm doing this. I've got this gift. I've got an ability to help people. I felt like I was not fulfilling my purpose if I was charging for it. And so many people, I can't tell you how many people tell me I should be charging, but I just can't do it. And I get people asking if I'm wanting a donation too, and I don't do that. This whole thing is funded by my day job, and then whatever happens with the books, and hopefully in the future, maybe some training seminars and those kind of things. So I want to get the word out. I want to help, and it's a big deal to me to do it what I feel like is the right way. And I there's just a real strong voice telling me not to charge, and I just couldn't do it. It's almost like something in my DNA, or even farther down, that I'm not supposed to charge for this, and so it's how I give back to the community.
Well, I do want to say that I have friends who are healers and psychics and do charge, and there's nothing wrong with that either.
Correct.
I mean, everybody has to follow their own guides. But
yes,
but I think that it's very neat that you do that.
Yeah, and like you said, I have many friends. There's a gentleman in Florida that I talk to all the time, and we met through the energy work. And he charges, I don't, and there's not a problem with either of us. You know, I don't think poorly of him for charging, and he doesn't think poorly of me for not charging, where some have, because they say, well, everybody's going to expect it for free if you do that. What I'm doing is of no charge. What they're doing can be charged. I'm not gonna take that away from anybody.
Well, no. Well, I just wanted to make sure that I was clear on that too, because everybody has their own way of doing things, and none of us are wrong when it is our own life that we're touching. I do have a question for you, though.
Sure.
When you're working and you're doing distance healing, like with the young woman with the heart issue, do you need something tangible to connect you, or do you just spiritually go and do it?
Yeah, it's all through energy. I don't need what I have found is that there does need to be some kind of a connection. So if somebody reaches out to me and they ask me for help and they tell me their name, that seems to be enough. Or if I work with somebody that I work with people that are in medicine, and they'll say, I've got a young man, I need you to help, and that's kind of all that I get, and it must somehow channel through the person that asked for it. The intent there must be an intention that I follow, because that's enough to get me to that other person. An example of that is right now I'm working with somebody that's asked me for a healing, and I'm struggling because all I have is an initial. It was an email, and I just have an initial. And I don't know if I'm struggling because I'm not getting the connection, or if there's something that's within this person that's blocking me, or something else that's blocking me, but I'm really having a hard time connecting to that person. But with doctors and nurses that ask me to help, just that intention they have, I know that it goes to them, to that person, and I can follow the path to them. And I had an amazing one, and it's in the book, and I'll change the what I call this person, because, well, I did in the book too, because it's confidential, but I was asked to help with a donor, not a donor, a person that received a transplant that was failing. And so I went in and was doing the work and helping them get strong. I felt their energy getting better. Everything was going great. And while I was working with them, another person walked into my quantum room, and it was very gray. This person was very, very gray. And I started sending them love and energy and just healing energy, and realized that this was the person that donated the organs for the one that I was working with. And as this person got healthier looking and color coming back to to the person, energy shot out of them. And I believe it was going to their family members, to their parents and siblings and everybody that was sad and missing them. This love energy, they now had enough energy to shoot out and to help their family heal. And I think that was what was going on there. And I asked, can you tell me your name? Because I wanted to validate what I was doing. And I got a letter. They just said a letter, and I'll say C. That is not the letter they told me, but I'll say C. And they just kept saying C, C. So I'm going through all these names that could start with C, and seeing if that would stick. And this person just kept saying C, 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 and so I'm grasping instead of letting the energy take me where it should. I was trying to interpret. And right. I've learned that I should not interpret. Just like, with when we pulled the rag out of that lady's heart and it turned into a beautiful young boy, I didn't interpret any of that for her. That was for her to interpret, because chances are I would get it wrong. And my interpretation means nothing. Her interpretation means everything. But I got fixated on really wanting to know the name of this person, and I wasn't getting any name. And later, I talked to the nurse that referred me a couple days later, and the person that received the organs was doing fantastic. They were up walking and about ready to go home, and I told her what happened, and I said, I just keep getting this letter C, just kept telling me C, and she told me, oh, the person's name is Cece.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'm getting the name, I'm not interpreting it right. And it was a different letter, but I need to be confidential. And it was just amazing to me that happened. And every time I talk about that, I get goosebumps, and that's in the book as well, that story. And that actually falls into the realm of remote viewing. And it's like associative remote viewing where you can go find information. And so it's a very powerful level of remote viewing. And I believe as people do the work in the Slipstream Shaman book, they get good at making contact with people. I think it might be a good starting point if somebody's interested in remote viewing to help start growing those skills as well.
Well, that's really cool. I mean, I find it interesting that the person who had donated needed to be healing in order for the recipient to turn around and start healing.
So actually it was two different things. I helped the recipient first, and then the donor came in. And I think the main reason the donor was there was to help heal his family, to send out that healing energy to his family because of their loss. And so I don't think the donor and the donee that I had to help one to help the other, but it was I think to help the donor's family.
Well, I still think it's wonderful.
Oh my God, yes. It's one of the most gratifying events that I've done during this, and I'm just thankful that I get the opportunity to help like that. And I believe, I believe they're all in better places, and I'm so happy to help.
Well, you talk about polymedalla.
Yes.
And at first I was thinking mandala, but no. but it's not a phrase that I'm familiar with, obviously. Can you tell us what it means?
Yes, and to put your mind at ease, you're not familiar with it because I coined it. Okay. You hadn't seen it before you read this book. What that is many healings. And so it can mean a couple different things. I just did a polymedalla the other day, and it was... and I don't have my notes here. One of the things you'll find as you read the book is that when I'm in this quantum room, I have a very limited time to make notes. Mm-hmm. And if I don't, I will forget everything that took place during that session. And like right now, I did a polymedalla session for the world. I can't even remember what it was about because the notes aren't here. It completely leaves me. My physical body, my physical brain is not wired to hold information from that plane. I don't think we're supposed to keep information from that plane of existence. So I lose it very fast. Other people seem to remember it, but for me, I lose it very fast. But so what it is, it's a group healing, and it might be. Well, here's an example. Last year, or it might even be more than a year ago, when everybody was getting so upset about wearing masks. They were done being told what to do. They were going to have demonstrations showing that they were done with the masks, and they wanted to go into businesses and not wear their masks. Well, I manage a retail facility, and they were going to do a protest at my facility about the masks. And I don't know what the mob plan was, but I know that we were identified as the meetup area for this demonstration. And so I started doing a polymedella to the entire planet, a group healing, sending it out about the masks and let's relax about the masks and sending love and energy. Relax, don't stress the masks, take care of each other, keep everybody healthy, those kind of things. And I did 4 sessions on that. And the day before they were going to do the protest, the government said, "Hey, we're backing off on the mask mandate. It's you're not being forced to do it everywhere. It's your decision now." And all of that energy just got sucked out of the crowd. And I don't know if you remember how agitated people were about the masks. And it was
Indeed.
And it was people that wanted to wear them and people that didn't want to wear them. And there was so much bad energy pointed at each group, and we were very separated by it. And again, coincidence. Did I make that change? I think I was a part of it.
Right.
I believe that the energy I put out there helped make some changes and then helped deflate all that negative energy that was being held in people. And so that's an example of a polymedella. And I do others where there seems to be a trend right now. The people that are asking me to do healings where they have this cloud over their head of dread, of anxiety, of concern. And so we deal with each of those people's cloud as they come to ask for help. But tomorrow I'm going to do a polymedella for the world, and it will identify the people that have that cloud, that thing hanging over their head that they can't quite get a grasp on. It's like a nightmare over your head. You can't make it go away. And so I'm going to do a polymedella to release that. And the neat part is I'm gonna put it on YouTube so people can watch the session. But the neat part is, because time doesn't matter, retrocausality, all those things, no matter when you look at it, you'll notice that a change takes place. And then people that are having that issue, I think will know that something changed and took place, even though they don't know that I did that. They'll have a release of some of that energy that's swirling around that's causing them so much anxiety and stress.
Well, I think that's very generous, and I would like to see that. I'm going to catch your YouTube on that. How do people find you on YouTube? Are you Slipstream Shaman there?
Yes, I've tried to keep everything Slipstream Shaman, and so yes, YouTube. If you search Slipstream Shaman, you'll see some of my interviews with other shows. You'll see a couple things. It's finally starting to bring up my page, and that's where all the recordings that I'll do will be. There's only one there right now, but there'll be multiple over the next couple weeks. But yes, search Slipstream Shaman on YouTube and find it. And I would also encourage anybody that's on Instagram to find me. And that's where I'm going to do a lot of the notice for people. Hey, we're doing this. We're going to do a polymedella on this. If you want to be involved, it's taking place at this time. Maybe you can sit down and join us in your quantum room. There'll be things like that. So the best way to keep up with what's happening would be at Instagram. And I accept anybody that connects with me there, and also follow them as well.
Absolutely. We have to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Everybody listening, y'all come back too.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Paratalk Radio is your one-stop for all things paranormal, the unknown, and the supernatural. Join us every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central for discussions and guests on topics such as ghosts, hauntings, Bigfoot, UFOs, and more. This broadcast is rated M for mature and intended for listeners over 16 on paratalkradio.com.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope.
That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
The time is 23 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine, and I am so pleased that you are here. You know, I am having a great time with my guest tonight, and if you don't know Thomas Wilcox, you will after you listen to this show. We are having the best time. And, you know, Todd, I just can't tell you how much fun this conversation has been and how mind-boggling it is. But I do want to know, have you ever seen anything that made you think, oh, this could be a little dangerous, or oh, my goodness, what is that? Is there anything scary about this at all?
There is, and I would like to tell everybody that there's not, but let's be honest here. There's energy out there that's not happy energy. We'll call it that. And in the book, the only story in the book with the actual person's name it's called Ron, and he's a dear friend of mine, and he has had quite a life. He has been abducted multiple times by aliens, used for experiments. He has witnessed. Bigfoot. He does lucid dreaming. He can do an out-of-body experience. He's really a great guy, and just a great friend. And he was having some heart trouble, and I was trying to help him. His heart was failing badly, and this was over 3 years ago. It's probably been more like 4 years now, and having heart trouble, and it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And it got to a point where he got down to his heart running at about 13% capacity. He should not be alive. And I was doing the work with him, and it was kind of holding him on, and about 3 sessions, and we found a lot of what I'll call parasites instead of companions. Companions started with a positive intent. Parasites are just feeding off of us. And I cleaned the parasites off of him. And then I saw a doozy of a parasite. It was a cable going into him. And when I dislocated that cable, so it was no longer attached to, it was going into his back to his heart. I took that cable out. And as soon as I did, part of my quantum room opened up, and I see this, I believe it was an alien. It looked like what I would call an alien. It was very big, and it had this gigantic head that was kind of shaped like a triangle. We both looked at each other. I was shocked. I was frightened. I'm covered in goosebumps right now talking about it. But I was shocked, frightened, not sure what to do. And as I was trying to decide what to do, this thing blasted me with energy that knocked me out cold. And I woke up. I'm not sure how much long after that came to in the. I'm kind of a dork, and I built my own Captain Kirk chair, and that's where I like to do a lot of this work. I wake up in my Captain Kirk chair just in a daze, terrible headache, and but I'm mad. I'm like, this thing just knocked me out. I'm going to go get it, and it's hurting Ron. I'm going to go get it. And so I went back in, knocks me out again. And so now when I come to, I don't have the energy to go back in, and I'm trying to think, what can I do? How can I beat this thing? What can I do for Ron? And over the next couple days, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to go after it. And I try it one more time, and again, it knocks me out. I'm not able to handle this thing. And I'm talking to a friend, and she says, hey, maybe instead of going in guns blazing, Marine, you can send this love. We always talk about giving things love and how it improves things. Maybe instead of attacking it the way you are, you could send it love and make it stop. So I thought, well, it's got to work better than what I've been doing. And so I did. I just loaded up. I got the love team together. I had energy flowing through me, opened up that window to where I could see him. And this time, before he could do anything, I just blasted him with love, sent love energy to him for a long time until that window closed up. And I don't know if he closed it or if I just knew that enough had gone through there. Ron's heart quit deteriorating at that point, and he was holding steady in the low teens. Wasn't getting any worse, wasn't getting any better. And I could go in and do work with him and not see this alien. So it was gone for a while, but then it came back, and Ron started to fail again. And this time I got with my highest level guides, the one that I can see and then the two that I can't see very well, and asked them what to do. And it's funny, sometimes you just get very, very clear, very basic information. And what they did was, while we were talking about it, they had me sit down. They were standing in front of me, kind of in a semicircle. And while they were talking to me, I was looking at myself, and I started getting like these gigantic muscles. I was like turning into a Hulk thing. Everything was getting bigger and stronger on me. And then they tell me, you're ready now, go to it. And then all they said was drive, push up, slam down, smash, burn. And so when I opened up the window and saw that thing, I just like flew at it, crashed through its ship. So I did find out it was an alien at that point. Went through its ship, got a hold of him like a football player, like a linebacker, and drove him backwards. That was the drive they told me to do. I just kept pushing him, slammed him into a wall, shoved him up into the ceiling, smashed him on the floor, wadded him into a ball, and then sent his entire ship into the sun. And boy, this conversation took an ugly turn. And I wish there wasn't ugly things out there like that. But I want people to know that there are things. You don't see it very often. I'm working with something right now that's this huge planet-looking thing that's really causing some trouble, both with taking people's energy and also with I don't know if you call it giving them bad luck or making their life ugly, but it's very powerful. So those are the only two bad things I've run into, and I wanted to. I almost wanted to leave that part out of the book because I wanted it to be positive, but I also knew I had to tell the truth. Yeah. And so that's in the book because I had to tell the truth. I did it. I feel bad that it came to that. I wanted to. I truly, my intent was to end the problem by filling that thing with love and helping it understand that it needed to stop hurting Ron and if it was hurting anybody else, but it didn't stop. And so it went to another level, and I truly hate that it went to that violent level, but maybe there's sometimes that has to happen. And again, I had to tell my truth. I wish that it didn't come to that.
Well, but it would have been irresponsible had you not shared that and someone come across something similar.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't not do that.
I agree. So. And there's one other thing people see a lot when they do this work, and I don't know if your listeners are familiar with this. It's many times called shadow people. Sometimes it's called the Hat Man. I tend to call it the watching man. And what it is, It's an entity that's about 6 feet tall, maybe a little taller. In dark, it's all dark clothes. Looks like it has a hat or a helmet. You know it has a face, but you can't see it. And it has a long coat. People will usually see this out of the corner of their eye, or many times wake up to it looking at them in their room. And I do see those from time to time when I'm doing this work. But just like when I've seen them in my normal life, they're just watching. I'm not sure what they are. They might be an aspect of ourselves. I interviewed a guy about these things that had seen him quite often, and he had an experience where one was standing at the foot of his bed and walked through him and said, we are you, you are they, something to that effect. And as he walked through him, my friend's perspective left where he was, laying at the bed looking up to where he was in this watching man, hat man thing, looking at his body below him and then out through the door. And he believes that it was telling him, I'm an aspect of you, and I'm reviewing things. And so they might be that, but that is something that you may run into when you do this work. And my experience has always been that that they're just watching. Other people have had different experiences, but mine have always been just very benign, just watching. They're interested.
What's the difference between the watching man and shadow people?
So I've always thought they were kind of the same thing. People call transients and homeless shadow people. That's one of the things they call them. And then you get shadows that you see moving across things. And so I'm not sure if when you're talking about a shadow person, if you see that shadow, if you picture a car driving by say a big building and there's a tree and that shadow moves across the building from your headlights, many times you see shadows that do that. And I don't know if those are ghosts or exactly what's going on there, or if it's just a trick of our eyes, pareidolia. But they get lumped together, but I feel like they're different things. And this watching man, I feel like is a different kind of entity than the shadow people, but they do tend to get lumped together.
Well, I know that I've heard that happen, them being lumped together. So I was just curious, and
because the watcher does look like a shadow, so I can see why. But.
Well, the only shadow that I've experienced in my investigations personally that I caught on video was not in a human form. I was in an abandoned hospital that was soon to be demolished, and in the surgical suite, outside the surgical suites in recovery, and I just shined, my friend shined a flashlight down a hallway, and it ended in a doorway, and then doorways on either side of the hall, and it just kind of like froze against the door panel, and then I was like, oh, and I said, can you shine because I'm looking on my camera, I said, can you shine your light down there again? And so she was looking too, and it was still up against the door like it thought we were not going to see it. And one of us did a sharp intake of breath. I think it was her. And I'm still filming, and it just goes down the door and then slides under the door to its right, my left. And so I'm sitting there going, that did not just happen. That is sick. And it wasn't shaped like a human. It was more like a stingray. It still had the appendages, like the arms and little stub legs, but it looked more like a stingray than it looked like a person. So maybe it wasn't fully formed as a person yet. I don't know. But that was I've had other shadows of children in a particular area, or but that was my first and my clearest, because it was against a door and nothing moved but it. So
yeah, that's an amazing catch, and you got it on film. How awesome!
Yeah, I'll
is
send
that?
it to you. I'll share it with you. But
love it. Yeah,
it's just wild. So I love paranormal investigation too.
Without question. And I don't know what I love the most about, if it's the fact that I'm with friends, if I'm in these cool old buildings that are about to be demolished and you'll never get to go in again, or if it's the energy, of what we're looking for. But yeah, I love doing investigations.
Yeah. Well, this hospital happened to be the one I was born in too.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
So that was a different aspect. So, but yeah, it was freaky. And that one, I felt like I scared it instead of vice versa.
Sure.
So, and I didn't mean to. I was just like, dude, hey.
Just got lucky to catch it. Yeah, that is a great catch. I am so impressed. I have not had that kind of luck or opportunity or whatever you want to call it, but great job. Good for you.
Thanks. Well, I'll share it with you later.
Yeah.
But, I am, you've got so much stuff going on, and, you've got stuff about NDEs, and I found that interesting because I bled out during a surgery, and I'd never really thought, or going into a surgery, and it was a placenta abruptio, and I'd never really thought about that I probably did die while I was in there because it was so close. But I don't actually remember experiencing anything. But, because I've never tried to remember that. But I know when I woke up, had two sister-in-laws staring at me. And I'm like, what? I said, we've never seen anybody actually match their sheets before. So that was fun. But do you find that people are happy or anxious after an NDE?
I have read about people that were a little troubled by it. I've never talked to anybody personally that was troubled after an NDE. They all found it interesting or even life-changing. And I had one of my own, and we've already talked about why, that scar I have, the hernia scar. During that operation, I can remember leaving my body and just being in the corner of the room. The way I remembered, I was sitting on some equipment up high, looking down at everybody, and I remember how frantic people were. A nurse ran out. The surgeon was yelling at the anesthesiologist. The anesthesiologist was yelling at the surgeon, and there was chaos. And that didn't last a long time. And then I was just sucked back into my body.
Yeah.
And when I asked the doctor about it on his rounds the next day, he turned white and said, "No, nothing like that happened." And then I never had him. This has been a long time ago. It was like in '79, and you were in the hospital for a week after a hernia operation. Then it's not outpatient like it is now, and I never had that doctor check on me again. It was a different doctor after that. He wouldn't come see me. So I think they didn't want anybody to know that happened. But I just found it fascinating that I could look around, and the people that I've talked to that have gone farther and seen the colors that they can't describe, and seen the and the smells and different things that are not from here. They are so excited, and they're while they're happy that they're back, they were more than happy to have stayed.
I heard that too.
It wouldn't have bothered them to stay. So they love being back. They love being with their family, but they felt that it was going to be fine if they didn't come back.
I think that's so cool. But we have to take our last and final break. So everyone, y'all stay with us. We'll be back. And be sure, if you're in chat, pop your questions in. And if you're not in chat, why not? See y'all on the other side.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope.
That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back for the final segment of Fate Mag Radio with my guest, Todd Wilcox, the Slipstream Shaman. And if you haven't read his book, head Amazon. It's there. It's great. And he is actually a healer. He is using the quantum field as he discusses how you can learn your natural abilities in quantum healing as well. And he's also a paranormal researcher, and he does Bigfoot. He has some experience with UFO, UAPs. So I'm telling you, the guy's a full package. If you missed any of the show, that's fine. We will be available on all the places that you get your podcasts. So thank you, Todd. I have had the best time so far tonight.
I have too. You're an outstanding host and just so much fun to talk to. I'm really happy to be on.
Well, thank you. I'm happy that you're here to be on. Now, we were talking about aliens and such, and there are two questions that I was told I could ask. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, what is your experience with people who claim to have been abducted?
So I do have a number of friends that say they've been abducted. Ron, who we talked about, I've spent hours helping him document the different things that have happened to him. I've talked to many other people. That I have a radio show also, and I've had numerous people on that have talked about abductions. And I had an experience that was I don't know if I would call it an abduction or not, but I for years made jokes about I can't wait until the aliens abduct me. As soon as I get on the ship, I'm going to commandeer it, and I'm going exploring, right? I'm going to take over the ship, and it's mine. And I did that for years. And then one night I was staying in one of those motels. Everybody's seen them on the side of the roads. They're shaped like an L. You know, all the rooms are on the ground floor. I was staying in one of those, and I peeked out the back window and saw just behind this motel was just a field that everybody dropped stuff off in. There was a broken down bus, different appliances, mostly just garbage, stuff that had been abandoned there. And during the night, that wall disappeared, and it was just gone. Yeah, I could see through the wall, and things started coming through. There was 3 different sized gray aliens that came in. One that looked like, that you would call a praying mantis. It was an insect-looking thing. There was this glob that was moving around. Many different aliens came in, and they all got around me. They had me stand up, and they kind of circled me very aggressively and made it extremely clear that I would not be able to take over one of their ships, that I wouldn't have a chance, and that I needed to stop making fun of that.
Be careful what you put out. You never know who's listening.
Exactly. Yes, and they made it clear that ended. And I do tell the story, but I no longer pretend like I'm going to be able to take one over. And and they told me you're going to pay for what you've done, and they left. And I was violently ill for the next 3 days. It was like the worst flu imaginable. It could have, like I was always thinking radiation poisoning or something, but I was violently ill for 3 days. So while I wasn't taken anywhere, I did have them visit me in a room, and they made it real clear that I was to change my ways.
Wow. Well, based on that, I would say that room is probably where you're most likely to get abducted. But is there any place else that you think is a standout for if you want to get in touch with ET, go here?
That's a really good question, and I've talked to different people, and I'm trying to. I've gone blank on the gentleman's name. He's from Temple University, Dr. He wrote several books of all the hypnosis episodes that he's done with people that have been abducted. Dr. David Jacobs, and I am so sorry. I worked so hard to pull his name up. I forgot the question. Oh, where I could go, where the best place to be abducted. And from talking with him, it doesn't matter where you are. He said he's got hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of sessions with people doing hypnosis and regressive hypnosis. And he said they're from everywhere. They're from major cities, New York, Toronto, Tokyo, and they're from the middle of nowhere, people that live out, in fields. And so there doesn't seem to be any place that they can't do it. I always feel like I have a better chance when I'm driving a remote road, and I will go out of my way to drive at night because there's less traffic and there's a better chance of maybe seeing something.
Yes.
When I'm in a remote area. So my go-to answer would have to be a remote area, but according to Dr. Jacobs, it could happen anywhere.
Well, that's what I have been told too, that there's not a particular place, just I've never actively tried to seek that experience. And there's times that I wonder, because I'm a deck sitter. I'm a hammock layer, a sky watcher. I have a dog that will actually get in the hammock with me. And, so we sit out there and like the meteor showers last night and tonight, and I have a little Dobsonian telescope that I'm still learning how to use. But, I'm out there looking because I like anything anomalous. But I really think that the odds are great that we are being communicated with. I don't know that I doubt that we're being, that we're working in conjunction as a team with aliens as far as, getting technology and stuff. There's so many different reports, and they've gone on for so long that some of them are quite credible.
Yes.
So that's just
I definitely think that. Yeah, there's something going on for sure, and I would love for us to know. And for years, I advocated, hey, we're adults, we can handle this, we're gonna be fine. And then I watched everybody take all the toilet paper from the stores when they heard that we were going to have to stay in our house for 2 weeks. So I guess if we announced that there were aliens, they'd make a run on aluminum foil or something. So I'm nervous about letting it out now. Where I used to think we were ready for it, I'm not entirely sure we are.
I always say that, the Orson Welles War of the Worlds experience was a trial run, and we failed miserably.
Yes.
So whoever they is doesn't think that we would be able to handle that. So,
yeah.
I mean, people were jumping out of windows then. It was horrible.
Yeah, so. And I tend to agree now. I think we need to do some more evolution, and honestly, that's something that I hope as people read the book and start doing this kind of work, and we make groups and we start building communities and getting a lot of energy out there, that we do raise the consciousness of the entire world and start moving towards that better place that I think we're capable of being in. My ideal would be that it becomes like Star Trek, where we work together and put all our energy towards bettering things, instead of the greed and the corruption that we tend to keep running into.
Well, it just seems to be universal, doesn't it?
Yes.
The greed and corruption.
Unfortunately.
One of the things that I think could help with that is, I know a lot of energy healers. I am one to a certain level. Now I'm one to a better level after your book. But is there a community of energy healers with a similar approach to yours that you feel like could help bring us around that bend and have us be preparing for interaction?
Not yet, but that is definitely one of the bullet points that I'm working towards. And I've as I've met different people on these radio shows that I do, and then as a host of a radio show, get the opportunity to talk to a lot of authors that do different healing work and maybe the people that mediums and the ones that work with animals and people. And I think there's a group that needs to be developed to do that. And that's one of the things that I would love to sponsor as part of what I'm doing, is getting that group together and helping us figure out what it is we want to do and how we're going to do it. So I would love to see that come to fruition in the next 6 months to a year.
I would love to work with you on that. So we'll talk
You're
later about
invited.
some collaboration.
Yes, you are absolutely invited.
But we can do some collaborative work and see what we can make happen.
That is fantastic. I'm on board. Thank you,
Cool
Kat.
beans. Well, people always talk about wanting to change the world. That's my sign off, is be the change you want to see. What better way to do it?
Absolutely.
Don't change just the world,
I like
change the universe.
So. Exactly.
Hey, it's a plan, right?
Absolutely.
I think so.
And if we don't get through the whole universe, at least we get our planet. We
That's
always
right.
have the planet to fall back on if we don't get the universe.
Well, and by raising people's awareness on that, maybe we can stop the destruction of said planet. I would like that very much.
I'm with you on that. I'm on your team as well. Yes, I want that.
Yes, got to have a place to call home. Well,
For sure.
I have had the best time with our conversation, and I know that there were some glitches that I'm going to go and fix, but it was absolutely fantastic to host you tonight. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Kat. I had the best time and really enjoyed it, and I'm so happy to get the word out, and I appreciate you letting me on to do that.
Oh, please. You're a great guest, and it was my pleasure.
Thank you.
So for everyone who is listening, if you're a regular listener, you know what's coming, right? But based on the end of our conversation, I just have to say that, be the change. Make eye contact. Smile. Be the friend that you would like to have. Be the parent that you would like to have had. And if you did have one, then you got good guidance. But you know what? Mainly just be the human that you would like to run into, the person that you'd like to stand next to at the grocery. And you can do it. Just manifest that. Make it happen. Go to it locally, and you're going to be surprised. But thank y'all. We'll see you next week. Good night.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.